How to keep conversations exciting with women.
Maintaining a sense of excitement and novelty is crucial in any relationship, regardless of its stage. This holds true whether you're just getting acquainted with someone, actively courting them, officially dating, or have been in a committed long-term partnership for years. The key is to prevent things from becoming predictable and, dare I say, boring. Let's explore how this principle applies across different phases, starting with those initial encounters.
When you've only recently met someone, the quickest way to become uninteresting is through predictability.
If your conversation feels like a script she's heard countless times before, perhaps the same generic questions or predictable responses, that's the definition of boring. Your goal should be to introduce something fresh and unexpected into the interaction. Adding a touch of humor can be incredibly effective here, earning you significant bonus points.
Why is humor so powerful? Because making someone laugh triggers the release of endorphins, those wonderful feel-good chemicals in the brain.
When she associates these positive feelings with being in your presence, that's a definite win. Initially, you want to gently disrupt her expectations by saying or doing something that comes across as completely unanticipated or out of left field. Consider this strategy based on how you perceive yourself or how others might perceive you. For instance, if you happen to be conventionally attractive, perhaps someone often described as a Chad or Tyrone, using common slang terms for attractive men, instead of displaying arrogance about your looks, you could employ subtle, self-deprecating humor.
The trick is to do it in a way that isn't genuinely insecure. You might say something playfully unexpected like, "Look, I know I'm just an average-looking guy, but you seem like a genuinely nice person who values personality over appearances." This works because it's counterintuitive. You know you're good-looking, she knows you're good-looking, and she likely assumes you know it too.
By saying the opposite and complimenting her for looking beyond the superficial, you create a moment of surprise that is anything but boring. Conversely, if you don't fit conventional beauty standards, maybe you're not particularly tall, or you have a feature you're self-conscious about, instead of letting that be a perceived drawback, you can boldly embrace it and frame it as a positive trait. You could lean into it with humor, perhaps saying something like, "I understand you might be a little intimidated by my striking good looks, but don't worry, I'm not one of those troublesome bad boys."
Perhaps accompanied by a playful wink or gesture.
The idea is to exaggerate whatever you might consider a flaw and confidently present it as your most appealing characteristic.
You own it completely. Her reaction to this kind of bold move will likely be one of amusement or admiration.
She might chuckle because she thinks you're hilariously deluded for seeing that trait as attractive, or she might be genuinely impressed, or at the very least intrigued, by your sheer confidence and audacity in turning a perceived negative into a positive.
This display of self-assurance is incredibly attractive.
Women are widely drawn to confidence, and it's vital to understand this is distinctly different from arrogance. Arrogance is often a mask for insecurity, while true confidence is a quiet self-possession that doesn't need to boast or put others down. Pulling off this kind of bold, unexpected interaction requires a significant amount of courage and self-belief. You could say it requires guts of steel. This is precisely why practice is absolutely essential. You need to practice this approach repeatedly, especially in situations where the outcome doesn't carry much weight, where there's no emotional attachment, and you're not heavily invested in getting a specific result. Think of it as practicing in low-pressure scenarios, perhaps when you're interacting with people you're not romantically interested in, just to build comfort and skill. You might also find my video on attracting someone you perceive as out of your league helpful, as it delves deeper into cultivating the right mindset for this. However, a crucial caveat here is that your delivery must stem from genuine confidence about the trait you're highlighting. If you're constantly making self-deprecating jokes about a perceived flaw because you are truly insecure about it, it won't come across as funny or confident, it will simply read as insecurity. Therefore, it's imperative to practice this technique until you can truly own it, until you genuinely feel comfortable and even empowered by the trait, and can deliver the line with authentic self-assurance, conveying a sense of, "Hey, this is just who I am, and it actually works for me." This strategy can be applied to various physical characteristics, whether you are tall, short, or carry extra weight. There is, however, one critical exception: this approach absolutely does not work if the trait in question is poor hygiene. You must address any issues with body odor or bad breath. Those are fundamental requirements that cannot be spun into a positive.
The next phase in building a connection is through texting and communication. This applies whether you're just starting to court someone or are already in a relationship. It's crucial to keep things engaging and fresh, especially during the early stages of courting, as this is when she may also be interacting with other potential suitors. Standing out in a positive light is key to capturing her interest. To achieve this, I want to highlight a fundamental principle: unpredictability. While reliability is important, particularly in aspects that truly matter, introducing a bit of unpredictability can keep the spark alive in your relationship. For instance, when it comes to texting, avoid falling into the trap of sending the same generic good morning messages every day. This can quickly turn monotonous and overwhelming, especially before she feels deeply connected to you. A useful guideline for how frequently to reach out will be shared later, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, here are some strategies to make your texts more engaging, playful, and captivating. One effective method is to infuse a touch of humor into your messages. Just be mindful to keep it light and not overly suggestive, as too much naughtiness can come across as creepy. For example, sending random, unexpected messages or quirky questions that pop into your head can add an element of surprise and fun. Using funny memes or sharing amusing content that others have created can also work well, as it shows you're thinking of her without requiring much effort on your part. Another idea is to send photos of things that remind you of her. For instance, if you see a hot dog stand and it makes you think of a joke or a shared memory, snap a photo and send it along with a playful comment. However, use discretion, especially in the early stages of courting, to avoid coming on too strong. Pre-recorded voice notes can be another great tool. Unlike phone calls, which can be intrusive, especially for younger individuals who prefer texting, voice notes allow her to listen and respond at her own pace. This can make the interaction feel less pressured and more natural. If you're feeling adventurous, consider sending a short video clip of something you find interesting or that reminds you of her. For example, you could send a clip of a place you visited and say, "I saw this and thought of our conversation about," insert topic. Inside jokes are fantastic for deepening your connection. Remember, regardless of her age, maintaining a balance between being attentive and giving her space is essential. She rarely initiates FaceTime or Snapchat calls unless there's a prior agreement. Why? Because, let's face it, real-time interactions catch her off guard. She doesn't have the chance to prep with makeup or filters, which she usually relies on for video calls. After all, we all know video can be less forgiving than we'd like. Now, let's talk about communication strategies in both dating and long-term relationships. Once you've established a connection, it's crucial to keep the spark alive by engaging her mind and heart, not just her physical side. This means continuing to send random, funny messages through text or messenger, keeping things unpredictable in positive ways. Avoid the pitfalls of unpredictability, such as canceling dates last minute, ignoring her messages, or being dishonest. Instead, opt for delightful surprises that show you're thinking of her. For instance, you could post a romantic, yet quirky announcement in a public place that she'll recognize as being about her. This works best once she's already invested in the relationship, not at the beginning. Another fun idea is to plan a surprise date at a unique location. Maybe it's an amusement park where you both dress up in themed costumes. The key is to do something different that reflects her interests and shows your creativity. You can also plan events that cater to her love language. If you're not familiar with the 5 love languages, I highly recommend checking out my video on the topic. I'll include a link below. Knowing her love language and planning activities around it can significantly deepen your connection. When it comes to initiating communication, here are 2 golden rules. 1. Initiate contact about 30% of the time in the early stages of courting, and around 50% of the time once she's committed. If she's not reaching out as often, adjust your frequency accordingly. 2. Always be the first to end the conversation, regardless of who started it. This leaves her wanting more and keeps the mystery alive. By following these guidelines, you'll keep your relationship fresh and exciting, fostering a deeper connection with your partner. In any relationship, it's essential to maintain a balance in your conversations, aiming for about 70% engagement. This approach ensures that your partner is always left wanting more, which keeps the attraction alive. The goal is to have them come to you, fostering a sense of curiosity and interest. It's important to clarify that exiting a conversation doesn't mean simply disappearing or ignoring the other person. Instead, it involves being the one to conclude the chat first. You might say something like, "I apologize for the brevity of our conversation, but I have to attend to something else right now." This way, you create an air of mystery, signaling that you are indeed interested while also encouraging them to reach out to you more frequently. Additionally, there are 36 intriguing questions you can pose to your girlfriend or someone you are interested in. These questions are designed to be engaging and a bit unexpected, which can lead to deeper conversations. You can determine the right moments to ask these questions based on the context of your discussions. For more insights on these questions, I recommend watching the video that elaborates on them. It will provide you with valuable guidance on how to enhance your interactions.